Now, some of you might have noticed that we are in the very intense and tense and exciting build-up to the Rugby World Cup 2011, which is happening across the ditch in New Zealand. And look, it hasn't been the most enjoyable last couple of years for Australian rugby fans, and it's been a fairly enjoyable, easy, good time ride for New Zealand rugby fans. And having had the misfortune to believe in Australian rugby for the last couple of years, I have travelled to New Zealand for many of the games and experienced and endured some deeply scarring losses. And thanks to all of those New Zealanders out there who've made that a full part of my awareness and really hammered the point home. I've lost half my cellar. I had to sell my house. But being a great Australian, I'm still confident that going into this World Cup, things are starting to turn our way. So what I thought we'd do is we would have a little fun tasting and just for the hell of it, look at some great New Zealand Syrah and some great Australian Shiraz. And before we get going, I would just like to say, because you know the New Zealand team has the challenge to sort of sustain their form. And the Australian team it's a question of whether they're going to get it together in time, this young squad, this new squad, to actually produce the form in the tournament. And I think there's something about these two groups of three bottles that sort of represents those two sort of one's waxing, one's waning, or one's waxing, one's waning personalities. So we've got, this is unbelievable, isn't it? We've got the country of screw cap, New Zealand. All about screw cap. Everyone knows around the world that New Zealand uses screw cap on their wines. So here we have 3 New Zealand wines, all of which are not under screw cap, 2 of which are under natural cork, 1 under Diam, or stunt cork, as I like to call it. And we have 3 Australian wines, some just very mixed pedigrees. John Duval has made this wine, a man who made Grange for many years. He's put his wine under screw cap, Mount Langi screw cap, and another screw cap here. So this is, this almost sets up, part of the differences in the two squads. And of course, one of the important things that we all worried about in Australia is, of course, this man here, and you will recognise him by the amount of tape that is required to hold him together, and that is, of course, Richie McCaw. That's right. That is the captain of the All Blacks right there, held together. And you can see already Richie is just coming in here and he's just infringing from the side already, and the game hasn't even started. So Richie, we're going to send you off. There you go. And you look at, oh, here comes Serge Blanco, that great French veteran. There we go, Serge. We'll put you over here. It's like you've had your day. All right, let's hop into the tasting. Now, I have tasted all these before, and so we'll just have a bit of a discussion about styles. Let's get Dan Carter out of the way, I think. We'll just get that pain and suffering for Australia out of the way first. What a pretty looking wine Dan Carter is. This is the Tomato Bullnose Syrah. These are all 09 Hawke's Bay wines, and I think New Zealand Syrah is Hawke's Bay. It really is. We're seeing some examples from other regions, but really the heart and soul, the convincing, the first 15, the most important players are the Hawke's Bay wines. And here's Dan Carter, and isn't he a pretty little glass of Syrah? You can see, look at those dimples in the glass. Very fragrant, very elegant. Quite right, quite athletic palate. Complex, still young, still evolving, quite muscular. Damn good wine, great balance, great poise. That bullnose is really a terrific style. It would arguably be the finest bullnose that has been produced. So there you go. There is Dan Carter. Now let's have a look at. Let's go to a fullback. We've got Clonakilla Shiraz Viognier 2009 from the Canberra district. Tim Kirk, a very straight kicking man, is Tim, and possibly, I guess, when you look at these styles of wines here, which are that very peppery, very spicy style, and you think, what Australian wine would I put into an exercise to sort of compare? Really, this wine here is the wine that probably comes first to mind for most people. So let's have a taste of that. The 09 again in Canberra District was a very, very good vintage. So the difference here, a lot of, the Viognier in this wine does stand out. And I think, it's interesting because Viognier is on the front label and it's a big discussion about Shiraz Viognier as to whether we should see Viognier character. And this enhances the wine, but it also adds some sort of Viognier perfume. You can smell those sort of apricot-y, gingery sort of aromas. Quite spicy, quite peppery, quite fragrant, whole bunchy sort of smells. Very pretty wine to look at. Surprising strength on the palate. Really quite assertive. Even, structured, long. Back to New Zealand. I think we're looking at the fly half here. This is the Mission Estate 09 Hawke's Bay Reserve Syrah. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, well, straight away you've got that sort of pepper back again. And that's really a striking thing in all of these wines, is this sort of peppery, fragrant, spicy character. But good ripeness, in that tomato especially, really there's a lot of ripeness in that wine, but it's not overdone, it carries it well. Into plums here, we're into sort of a deeper sort of set of fruit aromas. Nice. There's a bit of sort of cassia bark and anise and those sort of eastern, hard woody sort of Middle Eastern sort of spices. Really reliable palate, even measured. It tastes like experience, that wine. Beautiful balance, very nicely laid out. Exactly the sort of wine you'd want to have playing at scrum half. Nice balance, reliable, cool under pressure is what we need there. Okay, Australia, what have you got? Well, this is a wine. I don't know how to describe this wine in terms of a player. This is a comeback, a great comeback wine. We're not talking Wendell Sailor. This is a wine that's been around for a long time in the Grampians, which produces this sort of black, stony, dark, minerally sort of character that you see in a lot of these wines. It has also that pepper sort of character that you see in a lot of the Hawke's Bay wines. Old vines, we're talking here sort of maybe 40-year-old vineyard. And I guess has gone through a renaissance, a sort of revival of sorts. Lots of fragrance, very different, and probably less pepper than I expect here. Quite fruity, quite ripe, quite juicy sort of smelling, vivacious, confident. That's a remarkable wine. Great use of whole bunches in the winemaking, but also a wine that just has and probably like I think we see in this bullnose, a beautifully pitched ripeness, very even. You get the sense that every bunch that's gone into this wine has been harvested at exactly the right time. Very, very even. Again, very, very reliable, and a wine that we'd quite happily have in our 15 players that are going to run on in September. Lovely wine, great balance. Now we come to the front rows, and this is where these teams are going to really start to differ, because you can see the front row in New Zealand is a slightly bigger forward pack than the Australian, and the pack is definitely a heavier pack than the Australian pack, and but this particular front row we chose in Australia is a front row with a lot of experience. This is a wine made by John Duval, so it is from the Barossa Valley. It's Shiraz, definitely ain't Syrah. John was one of the Grange winemakers, immediate past Grange winemaker, I think. And Craggy Range Le Sol 2009. It's hard to think of too many other wines in New Zealand that would even come close to this for quality in the Syrah Stakes. This is, for me, a little bit of a watershed moment, I think, in New Zealand Syrah. Let's go to the Barossa. No, let's go. Oh, look, this is an epic tussle. No, we'll go to the Le Sol first. All right. So this wine, I mean, it's had the workout, it's had the bodybuilding, it's packed on plenty of muscle and plenty of weight, but it still has this sort of athletic, fitness about it. It's quite live. And look, here comes Richie again, just infringing at the side. He just can't help himself, can he? Look at him. I mean, New Zealand have got the ball, and Richie sort of is just getting in the way. Richie, get out of here, old man. So this is a wine, this is an athletic, big, heavy-hitting front pack. Here comes Richie again, infringing at the side. Richie, come on, he just cannot stop. It's amazing the referees just fail to see it so often. But anyway, let's not dwell on past issues. Gee, this is a nice wine. Berry cola, cherry cola, plum, spice, delicious, very convincing wine on the nose. It's a beautifully made wine. The oak has been really deployed, with experience. Very convincing wine. Terrific palate. I mean, it really is a faultless wine. It's got beautiful concentration. And one of the things that Hawke's Bay Syrah does is pack power and concentration with elegance and finely defined tannins. And that wine, for me, really sums it up. There's a boatload of oak and it all works. Such is the quality of the fruit. So it's really, really an impressive wine to taste. Very convincing. All right, let's go to the Barossa. And I put this into the tasting because this, I guess, represents a style. If we took this out, these 5 wines are all sort of able to speak the same language and run at the same pace and play the same sort of code. This wine is probably, we would think, a different beast. Barossa Valley. There's only one of them, and it's the style of Shiraz, I guess, that put Australian Shiraz on the map. Won us all those World Cups. Yeah, I mean, a different beast on the nose. Gone is the pepper and spice. Here you've got tar and dark flesh and juicy berries. Really quite... It's a very distinctive wine. And we're talking old vines here. A blend of not just one vineyard, but a blend of a couple of vineyards. Nicely ripe. 09 John Duval Entity Shiraz. Oh, here comes Richie again. Richie, come on. I've told you once, I've told you twice, stay out of there. That's quite chewy. It's quite tannic. It's got surprising strength, but it has an elegance about it. It's not aggressive. It's not overly oaked. It's not components. It's very, very well put together. And I guess that's the hands of an experienced winemaker. The other thing that you're seeing there, and this is one of the differences, I think, is vine age. And although we are seeing old vines here, I'm not sure how old the vines are here, but this winery does have some tradition. And Le Sol, newer but maturing vines. This, we're talking some serious age here, probably 3 generations of vine age. And it just does have that depth and soul that does amount to something special and distinctive. So there you go. That's our little World Cup preview tasting. I think what we do know is it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a very close-fought contest. If you'd like to thank Serge Blanco and Richie McCaw. Richie, good luck, mate. We hope that you hold together for the entire campaign. I hope you enjoy your lead up to the World Cup as much as I have. You can see that I'm a complete tragic, and I really hope that we all get the great contest we want, which is the final between the Australian Wallabies and the New Zealand All Blacks. Good luck.